皆さんこんにちは。このポッドキャストはトロントに住む私ミーと私のパートナーであるベトナム系カナダ人の埼玉くんがダイバーシティについて考えるラジオです。今回のポッドキャストから、記事に進む前に2人の近況とか今トロントとかカナダで何が起こってるかっていうか、日々のお話を少しだけ入れていこうかなと思ってます。
Hello?
No? Okay, it will be...they will lock down Toronto and Peel region from tomorrow, so Monday.
Yes.
November 23rd for 4 weeks.
Yeah,
At
28
least
days.
28 days means like they want to avoid the Christmas shoppings.
Yeah, it sounds like they're scared that the second wave is getting too intense, so they're going to do a forced lockdown, like a more secure lockdown.
Yeah.
Still, I don't think it's enough. They should follow the Australia approach.
Okay.
But I get why they're still allowing people to shop because it is the holidays and they don't want to ruin the holidays.
Thank God that we almost finished our Christmas shopping before this.
Yeah, I think we were smarter to do it earlier in the year.
But it never happens. We talk about it every year, but we forget.
We forget, and then it's also the idea that we don't want to buy something because you can't return it soon enough, right? You can't exchange it.
But then we shouldn't do it.
Well, if you buy a gift that you know the other person would enjoy, then there's no risk. I think we just forget. That's our problem.
Sure. Our daily life is not really changing. You still work at home, doesn't change anything.
I mean, small changes, but yeah, we aren't as negatively affected like many more people.
It's weird.
We're fortunate.
Yeah, it's weird that, the second wave is really bad, but we don't really feel, I don't know. I have never heard of any person around me got COVID.
Well, I know that because I have a coworker who is originally from another country and has family back in that country. They had relatives who passed away and also had family member become infected who luckily got over it. So because we live in Toronto, we live in a first world country where our healthcare system is a little more robust and our infrastructure is better suited. And luckily we're less dense than other countries.
Right. Okay. So, talking about the recent fun activity. So, yesterday, before lockdown, we managed to hang out with our friend.
Yeah.
And we went walking.
Yeah, we went to walk to an urban trail.
Yeah, which connects to the farmer's market.
Yeah.
That was good.
Well, we had that schedule for a while, and the weather was still good, and we went early in the morning, and I think that was to our benefit, right? Like if we went around 1 or 2, everyone would have came out because the weather was so good yesterday.
Yeah.
And then it's strange because the weather was so great yesterday, and then today it is now snowing. We got the first real snowfall of winter season.
Second, isn't it?
I call this the first one because it'll stay on the ground for much longer.
Okay. But the farmer's market was kind of tinier than before. I guess it was because COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really want everything goes back to the normal.
I mean, there were some good finds at that market.
Yeah.
Which I liked. That crab apple is. If anyone doesn't know about crab apples, they should know now. It is good.
Our friend was vegan, so we picked some vegan foods from farmer's market and then brought back to our place, then ate together. Everything was good.
Yeah, everything was good. It was very filling.
Yeah, that's our journal from this week. Okay. はい、じゃあ今回のアーティクルはカナダに住む5つのメリットとデメリットという記事です。これは、Canadianvisa.org という、おそらくカナダの移民を取り扱っている会社が移民の情報を取り扱っている会社 化団体の、ブログの中から、その記事を持ってきました。2020年8月14日の記事です。じゃあ早速埼玉くんに読んでもらいます。Go ahead.
Five pros and cons of living in Canada. Thinking about living in Canada? By now you may have heard a lot of good things about the Great North. But does Canada really live to all the hype? Well, it can't be all that bad living in Canada since the world has one of the highest naturalization rates in the world. This means about 98% of new immigrants do not regret their choice of moving to Canada. But every country has its highs and lows, and Canada is no different. The good news is that Canada's case, and just like in true Canadian spirit, for every bad there is a silver lining. In this blog, we uncover 5 little known pros and cons of living in Canada. It's not little known, it's very well known. 1 is the weather. So, con. If you don't know yet, Canada's weather patterns are extremely unpredictable. You can leave home in the morning when it's sunny and 25 degrees Celsius and return in freezing 5 degrees weather. For this reason, it's always a good idea to layer clothes and take an umbrella with you just in case. Your weather app will also be your best friend when you live in Canada. The weather in Canada reaches extremes in the winters. The weather in Canada reaches extremes. In the winter, it's not just cold, it's absolutely bone-chilling with a temperature of minus 20 degrees in some areas. Throw heavy snowfall and Chinook winds in the mix, and you're left with the unlucky task of shoveling thick, icy sludge off your car at 7 a.m. In the summer, the temperatures are an average 20 to 30 degrees, but in certain areas like Ontario, it's also very humid and your clothes feel like cling wrap against your body. For immigrants living in Canada from countries with tropical climate, it's quite hard to adapt to Canada's extreme weather. Pro. If you immigrate to Canada from a country where snow is nearly a myth, then living in Canada, which turns into a winter wonderland, will most definitely take your breath away. Snow-covered lawns, roof, and mountains, it takes a while to get used to. You'll also get to participate in awesome and unique winter activities that people come from far to experience. You'll also get to participate in awesome and unique winter activities that people come from far to experience, like skiing or snowboarding off a snow-capped mountain, skating on a frozen lake, dog sledding, and even building a snowman. Taking up an action-packed hobby in Canada is sure to pump your blood and keep you warm. If not, there's always a Tim Hortons nearby for a cup of hot cocoa. Number 2, the people. So con. In some countries and cultures, speaking directly and frankly is not seen as a bad thing. However, in Canada, you may come off as rude or bossy. For example, your professor might phrase a statement as a question to make it seem less harsh. Would you like to submit your essay? Whereas in other countries, the same statement will be put more directly. You need to submit your essay today or you'll miss the deadline. So, pro. It's not just a stereotype. Canadians really are extremely friendly, humble, polite, and apologetic people by nature, which makes it very easy to make new friends and invite your neighbors over for dinner. Canadians are also very welcoming to newcomers and immigrants of all races, ethnicities, and cultures. Canada is, after all, a proudly multicultural nation. Credit score. Con. When a new immigrant moves to Canada, they do not carry over their credit history from their old country. This can be quite inconvenient if you build up a good credit score and would like to invest in property, apply for a mortgage loan, or a credit card right away. But pro, the good news is that major banks in Canada offer newcomer packages, which include a credit card with a low monthly limit and even bank loans. Even better, if you didn't have a credit score back in your old country, you get to start on a clean slate when you live in Canada. Now remember to pay those bills on time. 4. Free universal healthcare. So the con. Many newcomers to Canada don't know this, but there is a 3-month waiting period before you can apply for your public health insurance card in Canada and access any free health care services. For this reason, it's important to get private health insurance during this interim. Canada's universal healthcare only covers medically necessary healthcare. That means if you need an operation, you'll be covered, but if you need braces or prescription glasses, you'll have to pay for it out of your own pocket, or you can do what everyone else does, get private health insurance to cover the gaps that Medicare doesn't. Pro. Canada is consistently ranked as one of the countries with the best healthcare system in the world due to its care and quality. The universal healthcare system known as Medicare is one of the main reasons for the country's high quality of life and excellent overall health. Canada strongly believes that every person has a right to equal and exceptional health care. Although Medicare is tax-funded, Canada allocates a big portion of its annual gross domestic product, GDP, on healthcare compared to other countries. In fact, Canada pays an average of more than 6,000 Canadian dollars per Canadian permanent resident and even some non-citizens. Exploring Canada. Con. Exploring Canada may come with a hefty price tag. Domestic airline travel in Canada is surprisingly very expensive. Some say it's cheaper to fly from Toronto to a city in the US and then to Vancouver instead of taking a direct flight from Toronto to Vancouver. This is largely due to the fact there is little to no competition among airlines. Pro. Exploring the big beautiful country is something you should do when you live in Canada. It might take you forever and a day to see and experience all the wonders of Canada, but it'll be worth it. Canada is every traveler's dream destination with its exquisite natural environment, European architecture, small maritime towns, and endless museums, restaurants, festivals, and parades.
はい、じゃあ記事を読んでもらったので、まず日本語で簡単にその記事の内容を、解説していきます。で今回はちょっと記事は、本当は5つのポイントについてプロとコン、メリットとデメリットを、書いてあるんですけど、そのトピックによってはデメリットから書いてて、メリットを書いてたり、メリットから書いててデメリットを書いてたりしてたんですけど、埼玉くんにお願いしてデメリットをまず言ってメリットを読んでもらうようにしました。なのでその順番で日本語でも解説していきます。でカナダに住むメリット、デメリット5つずつですね。まず1つ目が天気。でデメリットとしては天候の予測がすごく難しいと。で朝出かけた時はすごい空は晴れてて25度もあったのに、帰宅時には凍える寒さで5度ぐらいになるということもあります。で、極端な天候になりやすく、冬は寒いというレベルではなくて、地域によっては本当に、言葉通り骨の髄まで完全に凍えるじゃないかって思われるような、マイナス20度以下になることもあります。で、雪がたんまり降ったと思ったら、チヌークと呼ばれる寒暖風がその後に吹いて、で雪のままじゃなくてそれを氷にしちゃって、氷を取り除く羽目になるとか、そんなこともあります。でメリットとしては雪を見たことない人とかにとってはすごいウィンターワンダーランドって雪世界も綺麗な感じにはなる。確かにケベックシティとか雪はすごい綺麗そうだなとは思いますね。あとはやっぱりウィンターアクティビティーズって英語では言いますけども、冬のスポーツが盛んで、スキー、スノーボードとかスケートも実際凍った湖の上でできたりしますので、それは楽しいですよね。あとは犬が引っ張るソリだったり、雪だるま作り、定番ですけど雪だるま作りとかもなかなか楽しい遊びもできるかなと思います。で次に人でデメリットってしては、カナダではダイレクト、直接的な表現を使ったりとか、あまりにもカジュアルに話したりするっていうのはあんまりいいことではないかもしれない。でそういうふうに、率直に物事を言ってしまう人は、例えば失礼な人だなとか偉そうだなと思われる可能性があるというふうに書かれていました。で一方メリットとしては、基本的にカナダ人はフレンドリーで謙虚で礼儀正しい。あとはすぐに、sorry とか I apologize とか謝るというのが文化としてある。で、それはステレオタイプと言われてますけど、割と事実ですっていうふうにこの記事で書いてあります。で3つ目の、トピックがクレジットスコア。まずデメリットとしては、 新しい移住者がカナダに、移民してきたとき、元の国でのクレジットヒストリーというのはもちろん反映されません。なので、もともと来た国でクレジットスコアがすごく良くっても、それはパーになると思ってください。はい。で、メリットとしては、カナダのメガバンクはほとんど新移住者向けのパッケージ商品を取り扱ってます。で、それには一応、限度額は低いという事実はありますけども、クレジットカードの発行も可能だったり、銀行融資も一応含まれているそうです。さらにいいのは もともと来た国でのクレジットスコアが悪い人にとっては、さらになるから、いいかもしれないっていうふうにも書いてありました。4つ目、無料のヘルスケア。まずデメリットについてなんですけど、基本的にメリットの方でも話しますけど、カナダっていうのは基本的に、国民と永住権保持者と、あと少しの、就労者かなの健康保険カードっていうのがあって、対象のですね。で、基本的に医療というのは無料です。で、ただしこの健康保険を申し込みしてから実際に使えるようになるまで絶対3ヶ月間待つ必要があるんですね。で、その3ヶ月間はもうプライベート自分で健康保険を購入することが必要になります。で、あとその基本的に必要な医療行為、例えばそうですね、盲腸になって手術が必要になったとか、胃潰瘍になったとか、もっと、風邪とかでもいいと思うんですよね。あとは目に何か目の病気何か感染しちゃって、目薬が必要になったから、お医者さんに行ったとか、そういうのは無料なんですね。必要な医療なので。でも歯列矯正とかメガネっていうのは、本当に必要なヘルスサービスではないとみなされてて、自分で支払う必要があるか、もしくはプライベートの健康保険を準備しておいて、その公衆の健康保険でカバーしない分のギャップをそのプライベートの方からカバーするっていうことをほとんどみんながやっています。それがデメリットで、他にメリットとしては、そのさっき言ったヘルスケアシステムですね。健康保険、全国民とか永住権保持者、一部の就労者対象のヘルスケアシステムで基本的な医療が無料になります。はい。で、5つ目、カナダ国内の旅の話ですね。まずデメリットはとにかく国内線が高いことですね。で、トロントからバンクーバーに直接飛ぶよりも、トロントから1回アメリカのどこかに飛んでバンクーバーに飛んだ方が安いことがあるそうですトロントの国内線っていうのは航空会社の競争がほとんどないので独占状態なので、値段が落ちないそうです。はい。で、メリットとしては、すごく大きくて自然が本当に豊かな国なので、国内を旅することっていうのはとてもいいことですよね。で、例えば広大な自然といえばバンフ国立公園、ロッキーマウンテンとかナイアガラの滝、あとはヨーロッパの街並みが楽しめる、例えばケベックシティですね。あとは、イーストコーストとか、ビクトリアアイランドとか小さな海辺の街があったり、美術館、レストラン、フェスティバル、パレードといったものはもう各メジャーな大きい都市には必ずあるものなので、そういったことが楽しめるところだという話ですね。これぐらいで記事が終わっています。じゃあ早速2人で、この内容についてどう思うかっていう話をしていきたいと思います。
Okay, then let's talk about from the first points of pros and cons. The weather, I know for sure. I love Canadian summer. We live in Toronto, so it's east side. Okay, I love Toronto summer. I hate Toronto winter.
Okay.
Because obviously for Japanese, summer in Toronto is so easy. It's not hot for me. It's dry for me, even though you guys say it's humid.
Mm-hmm.
It's not humid for me. But in winter, it's so hard because it can be like -10, -20, worst -25, somewhere around it. It's horrible. And then you can't enjoy fashion. That's what I hate. You have to layer so many. it
Mm-hmm.
can be so rain.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I can't wear skirt.
Okay.
Even though I wear tights, it's so cold. Okay. How about you?
I have so much to complain about that part. Okay. One, we live in Toronto. So we are lucky that we live in the center of the Great Lakes and that we get the lake effect. So that's why our weather is so much better than the rest of Canada with the exception of Vancouver. Yeah. So that, and then also Canada is too wide, right? And then because of our weird landmass and the mountains, when people think that Canada is so cold, they're thinking of the prairies or the far north. But no one lives in the far north.
No.
But the prairies is the problem. Their weather is the most extreme, and the East Coast is the most extreme when it comes to winter and storms. Toronto is perfect weather for me. In the summer, we don't get hot. Like, the maximum it ever gets to is like 30, 35, which is, you can stay in the shade and drink water and you're fine. There will be people that have, like, health problems because of the heat, but, don't go jogging outside. Stay in the shade. Drink lots of water. You're not going to die because you don't get AC, okay? Those people are just complaining because they've lived in a first world country for too long and they've been too pampered.
Okay.
Second, with winter, people complain about how cold it is. Wear tights. Wear clothes are heat. Yes, it does.
It
okay?
doesn't work.
People talk about fashion. No, winter isn't about fashion. Winter is about function.
No.
You need to stay warm. If you want to dress nice, go ahead. You have to pay the consequences of being cold. I have seen people in New Year's wear mini skirts and high heels. Guys wear like suits and jackets. And that's it. I mean, guys, we get a jacket, so it's lucky, but there are girls who will, suffer for their fashion.
I sometimes, once a year, I do that.
Yeah.
Like, I sacrifice myself to wear tights with dress to go to the Christmas party of your company or the New Year party, right? It's hard, but mostly for those party we use Uber or we drive. So basically it's fine. But I was in Japan. I enjoyed winter clothes, very cute ones.
That's because you lived in Japan where winter isn't winter. Okay? Winter is like our fall.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Winter here is an indoor fashion event.
So hard.
You want to look pretty, you look for boots, sweats, and a jacket and a nice toque.
Yeah, the problem is I'm not really into the winter activity here too, like snowboarding. I don't really like it, but I do think I should practice. Okay, let's go to the second. The people, Canadian people.
Okay, so Canada, just like any other country, has their bad apples. And those bad apples are those who live... I'm not going to say those bad apples are those who do not get to experience the multicultural urban centers that major cities offer. Like, they don't get exposure to other cultures and ideas, so they're restricted to what their own community thinks.
Yeah,
and
but it's fine.
Yeah.
Every country has those people, and so it's like because you are Canadian, you see those people. Yeah. You know that there are people like that. But for new immigrant like me, living in Toronto, it's so good.
That's why I think the misleading image of Canadians being nice, that's a stereotype from like the 1950s, the 60s that got carried forward. Canadians aren't nice anymore. The Canadians are just competitive like everybody else. It's just that I think our history has always been about being polite, and so we don't want to ruin that image of ourselves. So we stick to it.
Yeah, that is true.
Because you notice that when we bump into people, everyone is like willing to say, "Oh, I'm sorry." We don't, but those are the ones that have lived in Canada or experienced Canadian culture. The other group will be just ones that bump you and then they just look at you stupid.
I think this image of Canadians being polite and humble and apologetic is like people are getting those images from American TV shows and movies because they draw Canadians as like that, as people like that. And then they make it comedy.
It's
I like it.
I see, for me, it's kind of true that small town Canadians are very polite. They're willing to help and engage and converse with, people from outside coming to visit their town and community. They're very friendly. And that image gets passed all around the country. So I think that's true. But it also depends on who you're interacting with.
Yeah,
right?
Obviously. Yeah, I know.
It's
but old people in Toronto are very polite.
Yeah,
too.
that's what I think.
Like our next door lady.
Oh, yeah.
She's so nice. And then I also remember that I met this old white lady at my Canadian mom's condo building.
Yeah.
So she was her neighbor.
Yeah.
And then this old lady asked me, which language do you speak?
See, that's what I mean.
So polite. It's like, are you from China? No, like, what's your background? Where did you come from?
Yeah.
Like, she didn't assume that I was foreigner. Like,
She knew you were a foreigner, but she didn't want to narrow you.
Yeah. So, how do I say? So highly educated.
See, that's what I mean.
And
so
smart.
It's the older Canadians, the previous generations that are polite. It's our generation who are, I'm going to say, dick.
No.
Yeah, majority of the people of our generations, they grew up with the American mindset. We're more competitive.
That's true. Yeah, I know. They are more aggressive.
Yeah.
But still, I guess.
Like some of them will learn it from their parents and from other seniors.
Obviously.
Canadians.
However, you guys are more natural. Like you guys are the generation you normally have multicultural people around you growing up. So you guys are like naturally being not racist.
Right. I think that's our pro. It's like we see the nice Canadians that we learn how to be nice Canadians from the previous generation. We're more open-minded now because we have so many cultures coming in. So that's our pro. Like we learn the good things from our elders and we recognize the change and we incorporate the good into the change.
Basically, I like Canadians.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see the racist comments, but I don't care.
Racism,
Yeah, it's everywhere in any country.
This article, when it says con, that being polite is a con, that's not really true. We're not overly polite like that. Like that's not
I don't
con,
think so.
Yeah.
It's not con. It's like more like if I have to think about con of Canadian people, it would be like they cover up everything sometimes. I mean, they don't tell honest opinions, I guess.
Yeah.
Like Japanese.
You're right. They're polite because they don't want to be confrontational with strangers. But you will only see that with like the older Canadians, I think.
I see. But it's not really much for Japanese people.
Yeah, it's
like
true.
Me. Like I used to that culture, so here I feel like they are so direct. So I don't really mind.
Yeah.
Okay, the third credit score. I don't know.
I think that's common for like if you're an immigrant and you go to a new country, you have to deal with their credit score system, right? So it's not really a con or a pro. I mean, it is a con for a new immigrant, but it's not really a true con.
But I get one thing I agree with this article was that the banks have the newcomers package, the product, which is very well structured. How do I say? Well organized,
right?
And then prepared for immigrants.
To that point, I don't think those banks are offering those packages out of the goodwill of their heart. I think the government mandated it,
right.
And then they probably either like secured the loans for the immigrants. I think that's what's happening. I don't think the banks are saying we're going to do it because we're nice. And then it outright says here, which includes a credit card with a low monthly limit.
Yeah, but
right?
It's normal.
That's normal.
Like, you can't trust the newcomers.
So students get that too. So you essentially get some same thing with a student.
Yeah, like my first credit card in Canada was pretty low limit, but after a few years, I got so much more limit, and then they do keep offering me more, like more the high limit.
Yeah.
Higher limit.
Higher limit. Yeah.
Higher limit, and then I keep saying no.
Yeah, that's fine. That's another point. We're too safe.
Yeah, but look at me. I have been here over 6 years now, and then my credit score is pretty good. But because I don't have debt, and I keep paying my bills.
You pay,
Yeah. So it's like you control yourself. So even though if you are not rich, you could get high credit score.
Yeah.
Which is good.
You could build a good credit score in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
But only if you are very disciplined with your credit.
Of
right?
course. Yeah. Fourth, free universal health care.
So the con is true. I mean, this whole 3-month waiting period, I get why, sure. But the one thing they didn't mention in here was that how long you have to wait.
Yeah.
That's odd that they choose not to mention that, but that is true.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
I get it.
I like free medical services here in Canada, but it's so annoying to get the appointment.
For a specialist.
Yeah. I mean, I have never get specialist's appointment. It's kind of hard to, like, you have to ask your generalist, the family doctor or walk-in clinic doctor to get specialist appointment. And if they deny it, like, you can't get it. And then, like, I just want to see specialists.
So that's the one problem with the Canadian healthcare is that because it's free, there is limited resources. The onus gets pushed onto the family doctor to triage which cases get seen by specialists, which cases gets referred to a higher, more discipline.
Yeah, I do trust our family doctor. I like her, but so I think I have to constantly go see her to get specialist reference.
There is that, but then there is Canada has private healthcare. You can go to a private doctor and says, I have this skincare. I want to go see a specialist, and they'll pass that referral on. But remember, it's private, so you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
So a lot of Canadians that complain about the long wait, they don't explore alternatives, solutions. They just wait and then complain.
Like Canadians, I don't know. But I remember my friend had a stomach issue, and then it was not just a cold.
Yeah.
And it was something.
Yeah.
Right. And then she had to get appointment from someone specialist. I don't know, but she could get an appointment 4 months later. But she already recovered before that.
Exactly. So that means they triaged it perfectly. They thought that it wasn't an emergent care that she needed to go see right away, that she could wait and maybe it'll get better and then it'll clear up on its own. And if it doesn't, then it becomes a chronic issue and then she'll come in to see a doctor.
That's weird.
That's right. That's the correct way to do it. Like people now, they want a solution right away. Like that's not how medicine works.
I don't know, because it's working very well in Japan, our system.
In Japan, totally.
Because we do pay 30% of medical services, but you can see a specialist on the day.
Right.
Yeah. When you need.
Of course. But just remember, Japan is a tightly dense country. One specialist can cover like the entire city, right? And then probably its neighboring city. But here, a specialist can only, let's say, for example, we live in Toronto. Let's say there's like 50 specialists in Toronto, but there'll be like one specialist in Hamilton, one specialist in like Windsor, and everyone from Toronto to Windsor that needs to go see the specialist, you're limited to only a few numbers, and we're spread out. That's our problem. That's what people complaining about our healthcare system always complain about. How long we'll wait, how limited our resources. They don't seem to understand how spread out our country is.
No.
Right? You can they always try to say compared to like UK where it's like so much better. But yeah, because UK is a much closer country. Like look how big Canada is. Our next biggest cities are like Ottawa, Montreal, Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver. Like we're too far spread out.
You are being too good boy.
What?
Like very understandable.
That's because people love. I mean, I love to complain too.
Yeah, you love to complain.
I love to complain, but let's complain. But make sure you understand the underlying facts.
I do.
No, I'm doing it for this article.
Okay. I just want to see my dermatologist.
This last one, I agree. Exploring Canada. Canada is way too big. You can't travel in this country without, spending at least
thousands.
1,000.
Yeah.
And that's like just flight and food.
It's so expensive.
Shelter, right? It's
no demands
yeah.
in domestic flights.
I mean, I think Canadians need to be realistic about their travel. Like, if you want to fly to another city in the span of a day, let's not look at check-in bags. Just grab a backpack.
So the cheapest flights round trip of Toronto to New York from like 5 years ago, I went like 4 years ago. It was like 300 something or 400 something. It's so cheap. It depends on the season. But when we check out the round trip flights from Toronto to, let's say, Banff, around Banff, right? So maybe Calgary. Oh my god!
Yeah,
it's like at least 600 to 800, I think.
It's demand, right? Like there's not enough demand, and then the government doesn't do anything to drive tourism. That's the problem.
I think they are more focusing on the
economy and environment.
Like foreign tourists.
Yeah.
Like domestic tourists, they don't care. But I get it.
But like, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, even if you get foreign tourists, like, foreign tourists. Let's say you get them to come to Toronto. And if they want to travel to Vancouver, it's expensive for them. So they won't. So they'll have to pick, do I want to go to Toronto or Vancouver? Or do I want to go to Banff or Calgary? Or like Banff versus Montreal. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Canada sucks for that.
I do want to see the Canada for sure. But
it's like, if I want to see Thunder Bay, which is the bordering with
that's
Manitoba.
Ontario, right?
Yeah. Like just to travel with Ontario. To fly, it would be way too expensive because there's not that many options. And the other one is to drive, which is like a couple of days to drive up there. So it's hard to explore Canada.
Yep. You have to have money.
You have to have time.
And money.
I mean, yeah. But time.
Let's hope we have enough money after retirement.
Oh. After retirement, I want to drive around the country.
But you're over 60.
Yeah, we'll have self-driving cars by then.
Oh.
That's right. See?
Let's travel.
Of course.
Okay. But like this article didn't cover the education.
No, it covered very superficial things that...
Yeah. I think education is Canada's pro because the until high school it's free, right?
Yeah.
The tuition is free until high school. And then the university is, it's kind of expensive, but it's not really much comparing to American university, right? The tuition.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then safety is also another pro, I guess. Yeah.
Safety? I don't think so.
Crime rate?
Yeah, our crime rate is pretty... Our crime rate is pretty high for Indigenous people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like we have problems there. But I think on average our crime rate is pretty good.
Affordability. Not in major cities. rural areas and suburbs, it's not expensive, I guess.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
Toronto, it's horrible.
Toronto,
It's common,
Vancouver
so
is hot.
so bad. So if you want to immigrate, you have to be ready for it.
I think, no. If you want to immigrate, there's tons of other cities.
Yeah,
Winnipeg.
but normally people want to come to major cities because they
Yeah.
are more welcoming.
Yeah,
And
there's
it's
more services.
easy, for sure easy to live, like feel good
I
as an
think
immigrant.
it's closer to your own people. That's why everyone comes, because everyone comes here. But really, if they're smart, I mean, if they're brave and willing to take on more risk, you should go to smaller towns.
Yeah, but like let's say, so for example, if you want to live in Ontario, maybe you should choose like suburban cities of like Toronto, like Hamilton,
Yeah.
Niagara Falls.
No, I would stay, I would pick, Pickering, Oakville. No, sorry, not Oakville, Pickering.
Not
Like, further east and west,
Oh.
like Guelph or Bowmanville.
Of Toronto.
Yeah, that are on our goal line.
Mm.
So, yes, it's going to take you, 3 hours round trip going in and out of the city, and there's going to be risk. But, you can mitigate that. You come into the city at 6 a.m., you leave the city at 8. Yes, you're not going to see your family. But you came here to give you and your family a better life. You are going to sacrifice your time.
Yeah, so it depends. If you can live up, make a living in Toronto, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if it's so hard for you to make a living, to pay rent in a house, you better, choose suburban cities.
What's more important, your money or your time? And then it's a hard thing to say, but most people are going to say, you can give up time for money.
Okay.
Especially right now.
Yep. Okay.
But I still like living in Canada.
Overall, yeah, I love Canada. I mean, Canadians love Canada.
Yeah, we are the right amount of patriotic. We don't aggressively love our country. We acknowledge it for the flaws that it has, and we understand that it can get better, and it started on a good path.
Yeah, you guys have good comparison next, below the border.
Yeah.
You always compare to yourself to American.
I think we see what they're doing and realize, oh, that's not right. So let's take a step back.
Yeah. So systemically, Canada is more like Europe.
Yeah, that's what I like.
And then culture and then past people's characteristic wise, you guys are more American, a little bit American.
Characteristics, behavior probably is more. Yeah, you're right. Behavior, we're probably more like Americans. Morals, we're probably more like European. I would say that.
Okay. You love Canada.
I love
Canada. That's good. Okay. はい、じゃあディスカッションというか、カンバセーションが終わったので、簡単にその内容をお話ししていきます。で、まず一つ目の天気に関してなんですけど、もう私は夏は大好き、トロントに住んでて夏は大好きですけど、冬は本当きついなと思ってます。なんか雪もすごい時すごいし、基本的にマイナス10度とか冬は当たり前なので、もう常に本当に一番あったかいウィンタージャケットを着なきゃいけないんですけど、本当に楽しくないんですよね。洋服好きなコートとかタイツ着てスカート履いて出かけたりとか、ヒールなんて持ってるのほかで、そういうのとかはあんまり楽しめないのは残念だなってずっと思ってました。今は若干慣れてきましたけどね。埼玉くんによるとなんのこっちゃと、トロントなんて、バンクーバーが一番いい天候はいいと言われてるけども、トロントはその次ぐらいにいいよって天候としてはですね、カナダ国内でファッションは楽しみたいなら犠牲をしけと凍えてもいいならドレスでも着ればいいじゃんと言われました。悲しいけどそんな感じですね。仕方ないです。 はい、でカナダ人に関してなんですけど、基本カナダ人がいい人っていうイメージがあるんですよ。結構埼玉くんとしてはそれは昔の人たち、今の高齢な人たちは本当にそんな感じがするって言ってて、かつ私がそういうイメージ、カナダ人のイメージを持つのは、アメリカのテレビドラマとか映画でカナダ人が結構登場してくる時の描かれ方が少し笑いを取る感じで描かれてもいますけども、基本なんかいい人で常に謝ってて謙虚でみたいな感じで描かれてて、多分それでみんな世界中の人カナダ人のイメージを持つのかなと思います。でも埼玉くんによると最近のカナダ人はもう結構コンペティティブで、別にその礼儀正しいとかよりも自己主張もするし、そんなになんかイメージ通りではないかなって言ってました。で、年配の方の話なんですけど、私たちの住んでいるアパートメントの隣がすごく年配の女性が一人暮らししてるんですけど、でその方時々廊下ですれ違ったりするんですけど、すごいフレンドリーで気さくで、かつすごい優しいんですよ。で楽しいしお話ししてて、ですごいやっぱり素敵だなって思いますね。であと前に私がカナダのママって呼んでるお友達がいるんですけど、その人が住んでるコンドミニアムで会った彼女のご近所さんで、その方も年配の女性なんですけど、その方が私にどこから来たのとかバックグラウンドは何っていう質問じゃなくて、それが普通なんですけど、どこの言葉をあなたは喋るのって聞かれて、なんかすっごいソフィスティケイティッドな方だなと思ったんですよ。というのも彼らにとってはもうアジア系でここで生まれ育ってる人っていうのもすごい当然多くいるっていうのを分かって上で、外国人として、どこから来たのというよりかは、ここで生まれ育った人であればもうカナダ人っていうのは分かってるので、それだったら見た目は白人ではないから聞くとしたら、何の言語喋るのっていう感じでバックグラウンドを知るっていう方法を使ってるみたいでした。で、それすごいなって、初めてそんなこと聞かれたの先にも後にもこの方だけですね。なんで私はすごいソフィスティケ、なんて言うんでしょう、品があるなって思いました、その質問の仕方。はい。で、あとはその若い人たち、例えば埼玉区の世代はミレニアルって呼ばれてますけど、でミレニアルは本当に別にオールドピーポーみたいに礼儀正しかったりハンブルではないけれども、どっちかというとそもそもその世代っていうのは子供の時から多文化のいろんな文化、いろんな人種の中で育ってきてるし、その隣に全然自分と見た目が違う子がいたりするっていうのが普通だから、オープンマインド、心が広い、重要性が高い人たちが、自然にですね多いかなって、そこはいいところですねっていう話をしてました。で次にクレジットスコアなんですけど、まずクレジットスコアっていうのは、日本でも住宅ローンとか組むときには審査されたりするので、もう意識したことある人もいると思うんですけど、あとクレジットカード申し込むときにバックグラウンドチェックされるじゃないですか。あれと同じですよね。結局銀行の貸し借りの銀行の記録とかクレジットカードの使ってた記録とか積み上げてて、この人ブラックだとかあると思うんですよ。あんまり日本では意識したことある人あんまり少ないと思うんですけど、こっちってクレジットカードすごい重要と言われていて、絶対にクレジットカードを悪くしないようにみんな気をつけてます。でもちろん新しくカナダに来た人っていうのは信用ができないじゃないですか。その根拠がないので、クレジットスコアがないので。だから元の来た国のクレジットスコアはまっさらになって、カナダでクレジットスコアをゼロからやり直す必要があります。で、銀行ではその新移住者用のパッケージ商品が用意されてて、一応クレジットカードとかも作れるようには なってる、クレジットカードっていうのは基本的にクレジットスコアが良くないと作れないので、で、ただそういうスコアがヒストリーがない新移住者のために一応バンクが対応している商品もあるということです。で、例えば私の場合は当然クレジットスコア0から始まって、一番最初の学生ビザとかの時っていうのはクレジットカードも作らずに生活してたんですけど、働き始めて、銀行のファイナンシャルプランナーかなに相談してクレジットカードを作って、でそこから6年以上、5年ぐらいかな、きっとクレジットカード作ってから、でそれで始めて、今までやってきましたけど、お金持ちじゃなくってもクレジットスコアっていうのはよくなるんですよ。っていうのも、きちんとそれって結局どれだけ貸し付けてるかとか、クレジットカードの使い方、きちんと期限までに支払ってるかって、これ当然なんですけど、それらが、組み合わさってクレジットスコアになります。で、私は全然お金持ちでもないですけど、すごいクレジットスコア良くなってきました。最初はすごい低くて、当然新参者なのでもうゼロに近い感じだったんですけど、今すごいいい方に上がってってます。嬉しいです。で、次のヘルスケアっていうのは、アーティクルでは3ヶ月間の待機期間が混んだって書いてたんですけど、そんなのどうでもよくって、もう本当にお医者さん、特に専門医のアポイントメント取るのが大変だし、すごい時間がかかるんですよ。で、そのファミリードクターにまずみんなかかりつけ医ですね、会いに行くんですけど、でそのファミリードクターがすぐにもうスペシャリストに送らなきゃっていう診断をしたら、もう多分すぐアポが取れるんですけど、じゃあここにそんな大したことはないけど一応ここに連絡してアポ取って見てもらってっていう場合もあるんですよ。でその場合って何ヶ月も待つ必要があったりとかもするんですね。でそれがすごいもどかしいですよね。はい。っていうのも、それが結局みんな健康保険でカバーされていて、かつカナダってすごい広いから、専門医の数とかジェネラリストの数とか、そのお医者さんたちがいるロケーションとかがやっぱりバラバラだし、みんな遠いところに住んでる場合もあるので、完璧にするのは難しいそうです。というのもとは言いつつ、めっちゃ不便って思っちゃいますね、日本から来た人にとっては。でもやっぱりだからこそ重要なのは、信頼できるファミリードクターを見つけることが本当に重要だなと思います。とセカンドオピニオンも絶対取った方がいいし、そもそものファーストオピニオンであるファミリードクターとの信頼関係とか、この人信頼できるなっていう、目があるお医者さんを、持っておくのがすごい重要だなというのは思います。で、カナダ国内旅っていうのが5つ目に来てて、で本当にカナダって日本とは違う意味ですごい見れる場所がいっぱいあるというか、自然が豊かだし、ケベックシティなんてすごいヨーロッパな感じがして綺麗だし、ただしすごい広すぎてどこに行くにもすごく高いんですね。もう国内線が本当に高くって、で例えば私5年前にニューヨークシティにいた時は、トロントニューヨークシティが300ドルとか、本当に安い時期ですけど、これは300ドル300何十ドルで往復買えたんですよ。すごい安くって。でもトロントバンフの往復チケットとか調べると、もう多分少なくとも800、600とかすると思うんですよね。それは嫌だねっていう話をしてました。どうにかして、将来ゆっくり埼玉くんとカナダ国内回りたいねっていう話をしています。あとは記事に出てこなかったんですけど、カナダの教育も結構いいと思います。ここまで無料で、大学の学費もアメリカと比べて高くはない。多分日本の国立大学ぐらいだと思いますね。大学基本公立なので、カナダ。はい。で、あと安全かと言われると、私自身はそんなに怖い思いをしたことはありません。でも明らかに日本よりは危険です。 なのでそんなに安全だなって手を挙げて賛同はできないですけど、はい、ただクライムレート、犯罪率っていうのは、一般の市民よりも先住民に対してのクライムレートはすごく高いそうです。悲しいことにね、はい、これは完全に差別ですね。あとは生活費高いところはすごい良くないところ、大都市はめちゃくちゃ住みやすいんですけど、移民者にもでも高い。トロントは本当に高いです。バンクーバーもすごい高いと聞きます。だからそうですね、生活費を抑えたい場合は大都市周辺の田舎町とかに住んで車買って生活した方が割と抑えられるかなと思います。でもつまんないと思いますでも生活しに来てるんだったら、そんななんか刺激ある東京とかニューヨークシティみたいな刺激ある生活よりもゆったりとした、生活を望んでるなら、もうカナダはもってこいだなって思いますよ。はい、で全体的に見ても私もカナダ好きだし、埼玉くんもカナダ好きだし、カナダ人は一般的にカナダを愛してるって感じがすごい伝わってきます。で、熱狂的にもう国家として愛してるっていう愛国家ばっかりっていうわけじゃなくて、いろんな改善の余地はあるけども、全世界見ててカナダっていい国だよねって基本的にみんなカナダ人もあとは移民の人も多分思ってると思います。はい。というのもアメリカがすぐ下にあって、常にアメリカのニュースっていうのはやっぱり、日本どの国もアメリカのニュースは入ってくると思うんですけど、カナダって隣の国だし、もうオンタイムで全て情報入ってくるっていうのもあって、カナダ人自身がアメリカと比べるっていうのはすごいよく見ますね。で、アメリカこんなことやっててはダメだね、やらんどこうカナダではみたいな感じで比較できてますよね。そういうところはいいかなと思います。で、あとそうですね、人の態度とか、表現の仕方とか言葉のキャラクターな感じはアメリカ人寄りなんですけど、道徳観とか倫理観とかはヨーロッパより、イギリスの一応連邦の傘下に入ってるので、政府の仕組みとか、モラルの考え方とかはヨーロッパよりだねっていう話をしていました。はい。で、今日こそ一番長くなっちゃったかもしれないんですけど、今日は、カナダのいいところ悪いところの話をしました。もし少しでもカナダ移住検討したいなとか永住したいなって検討している方がいたら、よかったら参考にしてください。で、そうですね、今回から次回予告をやめようと思います。というのもできるだけフレッシュな話題を届けたいので、はい、その週に見つけた記事とか話題とかをできればお話ししていきたいなと思うので、はい、じゃあ次回も楽しみにしていてください。ここまで聞いていただきありがとうございます。それでは良い1週間をお過ごしください。Have a wonderful week. Bye bye.